Hello, Ted. You're up last.
All right, so I got one here for you from Borgata 25.
Lord God. Have you called into the show before, Ted?
I have not, no.
Do you know Michael G?
I only know his name from here. I
Okay.
do know. I know your buddy from Borgata. The guy you went to dinner with. His name's escaped me now.
Oh, New Jersey Dave.
Yeah, New Jersey Dave. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is a 1K cap, right?
1K cap, 8 players, about 3 in the morning. It's a midweek game, but there was a little bit of action sticking around till 3 o'clock or so. Headed up to 1.8. I was the big stack, and a guy comes over from a 1-3 game with a tray and a half of Reds. He sits down. I don't know much about him. I don't know anything about him. He's drinking a few beers. He's kind of social. Looks like he's having a little bit of a good time, but he doesn't appear drunk. And after about an hour or so, he had a few showdowns, nothing really remarkable. He did 4-bet in a spot that made some sense. His sizing was good. He showed his putty. And so, as far as I know, he's just a regular guy. He might be decent. And I have not much more to go on with
Okay.
that.
So how deep are you guys for this hand?
880 effective. He's got 880.
All right. So 880 effective. Okay.
All right. So pre-flop, there's a couple of limps, a middle position, hijack, and then I'm in the cutoff with Queen Jack of Hearts. I go to 30. Standard was about 20. So I pop it up to 30. Folds over to him in the big, and he flats. The first limper calls and hijack folds. So we have three ways, $97.
So limp, hero to 30, queen jack of hearts, pretty good value ISO. Big blind calls, MP calls, hijack, folds, and we're off to the races here right around 95 or whatever with the rake, right?
Right.
Okay.
So we get a queen of clubs,
hmm
nine of spades, deuce of diamonds.
Okay.
So they check and flow over to me. I go 45.
Okay.
And the big blind basically clicks back up to 100. This is the guy with the
Yep.
800 in red, the new guy. And
From
then
the
we
from
get
the
the,
1-3
the
table that you've never played with before.
right.
Okay.
So the other guy folds and I call. So do you want my thoughts first or do you want to?
Well, let me give you my thoughts and then you can chime in here. So queen nine deuce, you have top pair. You go 45, which is about maybe, half the size of the pot. I think if you had like ace queen or better, you can probably start going like 2/3 to even full pot, even multi-way. It's not a two flush board, but you get to go large on these connected boards with what you think is the best hand to get value from draws. I definitely think a bet is in order here. I think 45 is fine. Usually when somebody clicks up a raise on a board like this, it's a lot of top pair. So if I had an overpair here, like aces or kings, I would be feeling really, really good about this spot to the point where, depending on how many action killing cards are out there, I might even three bet the flop, unblocking a queen. Obviously, you do not have that. You don't even know if your kicker is good. So I think all you can do here is just call and then, sort of use your position to see what's going on here. And a lot of times, like even if he has a hand like king queen, obviously you could beat like queen 10, but even if he has a hand like king queen, things are gonna sort of shut down. There's gonna be a lot of checking going on at the river, and then you can sort of figure out based upon what texture and stuff like that what's going on. What was your thoughts?
Right. Yeah, I didn't. The only thing that I kind of thought about in game was the small click back with the guy behind him. Right. So I thought he could be playing with a set. Could have had queen nine for two pair, but otherwise, it's basically draw. It's not that much without a flush draw out there. So I just didn't think much of the small raise. I couldn't give him a real strong hand here.
And I tend to agree. I think it's a lot of top pair. It's just the question for your hand is like, is your top pair good? That's why you have the advantage of having position. The one thing I will say as a pattern is that, just to take away from what you had said before, like in all my years of live poker, one of the betting patterns that I see here is that if someone were to have, especially, this would definitely come into play with top two, but even a set, because top two you need a little more protection, but even a set, the response is going to be either call as a slow play or raise at least a standard amount. Meaning that, like, if he was going to fast play off deuce deuce or 9-9, you're going to see a raise to like 175, at minimum 150. But I'm more like 175 to 200, no matter what his stack size is. What I don't see, so I'm either going to see a slow play or that type of raise. What I don't see is a click up raise. The only time that ever really happens is when a guy is unbelievably short. Like, and I think I use an example of this in a situation where in the small stakes exploits or in one of the old podcasts where like I was playing like a 5-10 game and a guy had like 350 to start the hand and I had aces and it went like multi-way, like I made it 35 and it went call, and he only had 300 left like on the flop and the board came out like 8-7-6 like with a 2 flush and I had aces and it got checked me and I bet like 50 and it got around to the small stack and he made it like 100 on 8-7-6, with a 2 flush. That type of thing is really nutted because he would just jam with like draws and every 2 pair and all that type of stuff. But you're not really dealing, that's not the setup here. That's the only time that I ever see a click up raise with a very nuttish type of hand is when someone is so extremely short. You don't have that here. So I tend to agree with, what you're saying. So I assume you play this as a call, right?
I did. I called.
Okay. So now we're at like
So
295. Yep.
Right. And the turn is the 10 of diamonds.
So, okay.
He leads for 125.
All right. So big blind leads for 125 on the 10 of diamonds. And of course, you are now losing to queen 10, right? Is one of those sort of click up raises. But you're open ended now, right? And you're getting what, like 4-1. And, you have a bunch of equity even against like queen 10 now, right? So, yeah. So I assume you call here.
Right. I didn't see anything else to do here, right? Is there any kind of stop raise type of move I could do here to slow him down?
No, because I think off of this stack size, I think it would be a disaster because if he has like queen 9 or queen 10 somehow, even though I think it's unlikely, if you just get jammed on here, off of this stack size from a guy playing 1-3, right? Or whatever you said, he just moved up and he's just going to go with his hand, or God forbid he has like 9 deuce. You know what I'm saying? Like you get blown off of your equity. So I don't think there's because what I was going to say, like you don't need to stop raise this hand because if the river's a brick, you can just decide based upon what the guy's action is. Like say the river's a 3, right? Like you don't need to stop raise queen jack on the turn because he's going to check a lot at the end. And then usually like hands that are better than yours just continue to bet off. Now, what I was going to say here is that, so big blind leads for 125, hero calls. Pot now is like 445. What if the river is a 3 and he checks to you?
The river pot's like 550. If the river is like a brick and he checks to me, I probably just take my showdown value because I don't see many hands that I'm going to beat because of the bad kicker, right?
Well, I would be concerned about king queen.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I would be concerned about king queen. I think I would be doing a lot of checking here too, because really, you're just like, and who knows? When a guy comes up from 1-3, is he so bad that he's got like queen 7 suited playing like this? Who knows, right? But I think if you had king queen though, I think it's almost like a free roll bet. I think that's where the cutoff here is. Like if instead of you having queen jack, let's say you have king queen, and the hand is played out this way, and you're not ready to fold the turn either, right? Because the guy could have queen jack, then you probably can't lose. And then ace queen and all over pairs and stuff are slam dunk bets. Obviously that didn't happen. Okay, so now we're at 550 as we roll the river. Okay.
Right. Okay, so the river is a jack of diamonds, and he snap jams. I mean, as soon as it hit, it's out there.
So there's a backdoor flush that comes in here, right? Queen 9 deuce 10 jack and the queen and the 9 both are not diamonds on the flop.
Correct.
So he snap jams for
625, a little bit of an over bet, $75 over, but so
I mean, I don't like those backdoor diamonds.
Right. Especially since top pair and the 9 could have been queen 9 of diamonds the whole way too, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, or king queen of diamonds just as a flat. Yeah, maybe. Any possible queen X of diamonds. I mean, here's the other thing too is like, well, you can't have the queen 10 or you can't have jack I was gonna say like some of these medium queen X like dink and dunk check raises that just continue on turn that would have checked because they picked up diamonds. Although that's less likely here because the 10 and the jack run out. So unless it was like queen eight of diamonds or something like that, I think it would be a lot closer if it would be really really bizarre if this river was an offsuit jack and he jammed on you, because then it would be queen nine deuce 10 jack, and it would be like, what does this guy have, right? Like because do you just give him king queen, right? I mean, king queen would make sense on queen nine deuce 10 jack, right? But I think you're losing to more now, so I don't know if I can really find this call. Now what I would say here is that sometimes you're forced to call down in spots like this if like the big blind had just like sort of snap bet 200, okay? And I'm not even talking about pot odds, just saying because he's out of position. So sometimes guys will have hands and they don't know what to do. Like say he had queen nine. Let's say he actually had that, or queen 10, right? And now you river queen jack, and and he just snap bets like 200 or 250, and he'd be like, "Whoa, queen 10 isn't really betting this way." But you'll find it happens sometimes with guys from out of position because they don't want to check and face a bet, so they just sort of just bet because it's kind of like clicking buttons. But this is different. This is the guy's whole stack,
Right.
you know.
That's the reason for the call, and the reason I talked to a lot of guys about the hand. It wasn't like a block bet where he had something he liked and he just put his 200 out there and kind of slowed things down. I mean, this thing hit and he ripped it. So like I went in the tank because he check raised something, and then he didn't bet very big on the turn, and now he's in love with with the way the board changed, and ultimately this backdoor flush comes in.
Yeah, but Ted, I'll say this though too, and we've seen this through empirical evidence on this show before, and it might sound funny to you. It's quite possible that he doesn't see the diamonds at the end.
Yes, absolutely.
Now I know it puts a one-liner out there to a king, which would be a lot more transparent. But if he had like king queen and played it this way, he just might think he has the nuts. And he's not slowed down by the backdoor diamonds. You see what I'm saying? Just like he doesn't even see them. So you might get into a situation where he actually does have some other hands that you wouldn't think would be logical that would slow down here because, in a theoretical type of situation here, if he somehow had any king queen with a diamond in it, king of diamonds, queen X, or king queen with a queen of diamonds, he should still be betting the river, right? And even more so, I think queen X diamonds, just because you can't have it here. Not that people necessarily think about that in that way, but I just feel like I don't know how I can call here.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how I can call here.
So I tanked. It lasted about 2 minutes or so. I kind of stood up and I'm looking at it, and I got it down to exactly that. It was going to be queen X of diamonds, queen nine specifically is the one I was thinking. You never know. Maybe he's one of these guys that's afraid to three bet out of position with king queen or ace queen of diamonds. So that was also a possibility. But then, based on that small check raise, I really thought that jack 10 could get there. Could be the hand, and then it could have been one of those spots where he's like, he just rips it because he really doesn't know what to do. Like everything hit, and he's like, well, you see guys just kind of rip it when they don't know what to do.
Right, but you heard what I said though before, right? The one thing I would take exception for that is that it's a rip. Exactly what I said before is, yes, they'll bet, they don't know what to do, but I wouldn't see like a rip like that with Jack. I think that's very, very optimistic to think. Like him showing up here with Jack 10, I think is way less likely than what somebody else had said here, Mango Havoc, where the guy shows up with deuce deuce somehow, even though I think that's not all that likely because of the flop check raise. But I mean, if you're saying that he's going to have Jack 10, then you think he might have queen 10 here too.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I would assume, right? Because it's the same thing.
Well, yeah, Jack 10 makes more sense than queen 10, but I guess any of those queens.
Why does Jack 10 make more sense than queen 10?
Because it was open-ended and he did check raise a little on the flop, right? So queen 10, does he really check raise queen 10?
You think queen 10 calls more often?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I mean, the only thing I would say about that though is that if someone's on a draw, they tend not to just min raise flop. But
Yeah.
I would
So
probably let this one go. Just me personally.
and I
Oh, you
did.
did? Okay.
But so in the email, I told you that when he jammed, he instantly buried his face. I couldn't see any of his face, no reactions, and I'm doing all the table talk I could. So it lasted about 2 minutes. I made the fold, and he picks his head up and he goes, "Oh man, you said it." And he turns over Queen 10. He goes, "I'm sorry." He turns over Jack 10. He goes, "I thought you were going to make the call, bro. Good read." But I ended up folding. And everybody agrees with you. We all came to the same thing. It was a fold, but it's crazy that the Jack 10 was the hand, right?
So he had Jack 10
He did have Jack 10, yeah.
and he thought he was bluffing you,
Yeah.
which is very, very bizarre. I mean, I 100% believe it, but it just goes to show you how people are at different levels of poker because in this particular situation, the only thing that jamming Jack 10 here does is get you off of a higher queens up, right? Which he blocks in the form of Queen 10 and Queen Jack. And then somehow, like, if you were to fold a set here, somehow, like if you had nines, didn't re-raise him, and then just called turn, and then on the river, I mean, that's it. And a lot of people are going to fold sets at the end here. That's debatable. But that's why it's such a weird, it's a hand that doesn't make any sense to just do that with because it beats how about your overpair one, like ace queen, he's winning, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's beating aces. And you're probably not folding kings because it's a straight.
It's great now, right?
So it's one of those ones that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right?
Right. Yeah, I agree. And everyone else agreed. But I figured it was an interesting spot for those reasons, and I wanted to get your take on it. So here we are.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Ted.